Samantha was the queen bee of the school. Everyone knew her name. Everyone wanted to be her friend, or at least stay on her good side. She didn't walk alone. She always had her 4 best friends with her, her clique. They were the big girls of the school, the ones everyone looked at when they entered a room. Samantha's parents were very rich, too rich, and that made her feel like she could do whatever she wanted and get away with it. Most of the time, she did. But on the 14th of March, something different happened. That morning, news spread around the school. A new teacher had arrived. When Samantha and her friends walked into class, they saw him. Tall, neat, handsome, the kind of man who looked like he should be in a movie. The girls sat down, but their eyes didn't leave him. After class, Samantha and her clique gathered in their usual corner. Samantha tossed her hair back and smirked. "I like him. I'm going to make him mine," Samantha said. One of the girls, Tonia, frowned and said, "I don't know, Sam. He looks really serious. I don't think he's the type to, say yes." Another friend laughed. "Please. Samantha always gets what she wants. Always. And look at her. She's beautiful. He won't say no." The others nodded. They had seen it before. Samantha wanted something, she got it. But this time, they didn't know. This teacher was not like the others. And what Samantha was about to start would not end the way she thought. From that day on, Samantha and her friends kept trying to get Mr. George's attention. They smiled at him in class. They dropped notes on his desk. They even waited for him after lessons. But Mr. George didn't smile back. He didn't play along. One day, he even told them clearly, "I will never have anything to do with my students. Not now. Not ever. This is wrong." It made Samantha angry. She was used to people saying yes to her. So, she came up with a plan, a dangerous plan. It was on a sports day. All the students were outside on the school field for games. Mr. George was alone in his office, marking some papers. Samantha walked in quietly. She was wearing her very short mini skirt and a tight shirt. She leaned on his desk, smiling. "Mr. George, I know you like me," she said, walking very close to him. Mr. George frowned and stood up. "Samantha, what is this? Why are you dressed like this? Go back to the field." But before he could shout, Samantha put her finger on his lips. "Shoo." She stepped closer. Mr. George moved back, holding out his hands to stop her. "This is wrong. Stop right now." But Samantha didn't stop. She pulled off her shirt. Before he could react, she grabbed his trousers and yanked them down a little. Mr. George froze, shocked. "Samantha, what are you doing?" And then, the door opened. Another teacher walked in. Samantha quickly jumped back, dropped to her knees, and started crying loudly. "Help! He tried to touch me. He tried to hurt me." The other teacher's eyes went wide. She looked at Mr. George's trousers, still partly down. "Mr. George, I'm not blind. I can see what's happening here. You tried to assault her?" she asked, shocked. Mr. George's voice shook. No, this is not what it looks like. She's lying. I didn't do anything." But Samantha kept crying, louder and louder. And at that moment, everyone believed her. Mr. George was taken away by the police that same day. Everyone in the school believed the lies they heard. They all thought he had done something terrible. But the truth was, only Samantha and her 4 friends knew what really happened. And none of them wanted to tell the truth. Samantha's father was a very rich man, a billionaire. He was furious. He swore to destroy Mr. George's life for hurting his daughter. And with his money and power, he made sure Mr. George was sentenced to death. Death by hanging. After the news came out, the 5 girls started feeling uneasy. They had laughed at first, but now the thought of someone dying because of them was too heavy. Especially Gift. Gift was the quietest and most gentle among them. She couldn't eat. She couldn't sleep. Her heart felt heavy, like a stone was pressing on her chest. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Mr. George's face, confused, begging to be heard. She couldn't take it anymore. One afternoon, the 5 girls met in an empty classroom. Gift's voice shook as she spoke. "I can't keep this in," she said, holding her chest. "I can't watch him die for something he didn't do. It's wrong. We have to tell the truth." Samantha's eyes turned cold. She stood up slowly and walked closer to Gift. Her voice was low but sharp. "No one is saying anything," she said. "If you open your mouth, you're finished." Then Samantha smirked and pulled out a small blade from her bag. "If you want to prove you're with us, we're making a blood vow today. We cut our palms, mix our blood, and swear that no matter what happens, we will never speak of this." The girls looked at each other nervously. Gift's hands trembled. The room felt smaller, darker, like the walls were closing in. The person who carried the heaviest pain was Mr. George's younger sister, Grace. She and her brother had just moved to the United States not long ago. They came here after losing their whole family in a terrible accident. America was supposed to be a fresh start, a new life, a place where they could heal and rebuild. But now, instead of building their dreams, Grace was watching her only brother being destroyed by a lie. Grace knew her brother. She had grown up with him. She had seen him care for people, help strangers, and protect the weak. She knew he could never do what they said he did. She cried. She begged. She spoke to anyone who would listen, but no one cared. Her words were drowned by Samantha's father's power and money. Back in school, the other girls pressed Gift to take the blood oath. But Gift shook her head. Her voice trembled. "I won't talk," she said softly. "I'll try my best to keep it in, but I will not swear with blood." Samantha's eyes narrowed. The other girls exchanged dark glances. From that day, they watched Gift closely, afraid she might expose them. Weeks later, the day came. Mr. George was hanged. One final drop, and he was gone. Grace fell to her knees when she heard the news. Her scream was raw, shaking through the small apartment walls. Her chest hurt so badly she thought she might die too. That night, she prayed. Not the soft, quiet kind of prayer. It was the kind that comes from deep pain, the kind that shakes heaven's doors. "God, you see everything," she sobbed. "You know my brother was innocent. You know we have no one else but you. Don't let his death be wasted. Whoever lied, whoever stayed silent, whoever had a hand in this, let your judgment find them. Let them feel this pain. Let them answer to you." Grace prayed like this every single night. Her tears soaked her pillow. Her voice grew weak. Her body became thin. She was now all alone in a foreign country. No parents, no siblings, just her and her grief. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Everyone in school slowly began to move on. Laughter came back. The noise in the classrooms returned. Life seemed normal again, except for Gift. Gift could not move on. Every night she saw the same nightmare. Mr. George, standing on the gallows, the rope around his neck, and then the drop. She would wake up sweating and crying. Her heart was heavy. It felt like a big stone pressing on her chest every single day. She knew what they had done, and she knew it was wrong. One afternoon, Gift pulled one of their friends aside. Her voice was shaking as she said, "I can't keep this inside anymore. I'm losing myself. We have to tell the truth. We have to confess." The friend looked at her in shock. "Are you crazy? We swore. We took an oath. If you talk, Samantha will never let you go. We will all go down together." Gift stood there, frozen. Her hands were cold. She was scared, but the guilt was eating her alive. After that day, she started avoiding Samantha and the other girls. She stopped hanging out with them. She stopped answering their calls. Samantha noticed. The others noticed too. "She's going to expose us," Samantha whispered to the group. Her eyes were hard. Her voice was cold. So, they made a plan. A dangerous, cruel plan. After school one day, they called Gift. "Let's meet at our usual spot," they said, pretending everything was normal. Before Gift arrived, they poured a strong sleeping pill into her drink. When she got there, they smiled and laughed as if nothing was wrong. "Here, drink this," Samantha said sweetly, handing her the cup. Gift took it. She drank. Minutes later, she started to feel dizzy. Her eyes grew heavy. Her body felt weak. Her fingers slipped from the edge of the table. Her voice trembled. "What did you put in my drink?" But before she could say more, her head dropped forward. Everything went black. They lifted Gift's limp body and shoved her into the back seat of Samantha's car. The night was quiet. Too quiet. Only the sound of the car engine and the crickets in the distance could be heard. They drove for a long time, past the school, past the houses, past the streetlights, until they reached a lonely, forgotten place. It was deep in the bush, the kind of place where no one ever came. The air was cold. The trees stood tall, like dark shadows watching them. Without saying a word, they got out of the car. The girls began digging. The earth was soft, but it still took them a while. They dug a shallow grave. Gift's chest rose and fell slowly. She was still breathing, but they didn't care. They lowered her body into the hole. Dirt fell over her face, her hair, her clothes. The smell of wet earth filled the air as they covered her. When they were done, Samantha looked at the others with a hard, cold stare. "Listen," she whispered. Nobody will ever talk about this. Nobody saw anything. If anyone asks about Gift, we don't know where she is. We agreed. One by one, they nodded. Their faces were pale in the moonlight. And then, they left her there. Alone. Buried. In the dark. The next day, the girls came to school and acted like nothing had happened. They laughed. They played. They lived as if life was normal. But one thing was strange. Gift didn't come to school. At first, the teachers thought maybe she was sick. They asked the girls, but the girls said they hadn't seen her. They pretended they didn't even know what happened the night before. After school that day, no one still saw Gift. Then whispers began to spread. Where is Gift? Has anyone seen her? The next day came. Still no Gift. Her parents grew worried. The whole town began to search for her. They checked everywhere. Her friends' houses, the streets, even the bushes. But Gift was nowhere to be found. 2 days passed. Nothing. It was as if Gift had disappeared into thin air. The girls felt safe. They believed they had covered all their tracks. They thought no one would ever suspect them. But they forgot one little thing. Investigators decided to check Gift's phone records. They went through her last calls, her last messages, her last steps. And they saw. The very last message on Gift's phone came from Samantha. It was Samantha who had told her to meet at that spot. When the police saw this, they wasted no time. Samantha was arrested. She was the last person known to have spoken with Gift. And that was where the real story began to unravel. The case was finally taken to court. Then, the big day came. The courtroom was full. Everyone sat quietly, waiting for the last judgment. The air felt heavy, like everyone was holding their breath. Samantha walked in, calm and confident. She wore her usual proud smile. She believed nothing bad could ever happen to her. Her father's money, her father's power, and her team of lawyers had always protected her. She thought this day would be no different. The judge sat high above, papers stacked in front of him. After weeks of arguments, fights, and endless back and forth, the truth was still blurry. No strong proof showed that Samantha was guilty. It seemed like she might walk free. Everyone leaned forward as the judge cleared his throat. He was just about to give the final verdict when, bang, the heavy wooden door creaked open. All heads turned at once. The sound of shoes echoed on the floor. But just then, the heavy courtroom doors creaked open. Everyone turned. A hush fell. Footsteps echoed against the floor. And there she was. Gifts. The very girl they had buried alive. The room gasped in shock. The lawyers froze. Even Samantha's confident smile vanished from her face. The judge dropped his gavel on the desk in disbelief. Gifts, someone whispered. In that single moment, the entire courtroom knew the truth. The trial was not over. The whole court froze. Everyone was sweating, eyes wide, like they had just seen a ghost. They were sure they had buried her. They were sure Gifts was gone forever. But here she was, standing tall, walking straight to the front of the court. Mouths opened, hands covered faces. People whispered, "Is this her spirit? Are we dreaming?" Gifts raised her hand to quiet the noise. Then she spoke. Her voice was steady. "First of all," she said, "Mr. George is innocent. He never did anything wrong. He was wrongly accused." The truth was so heavy in my heart. I couldn't carry it anymore, so I told my friends I was going to speak up. My own friends betrayed me. They buried me alive, hoping I would never rise again. Gasps filled the room. Judges leaned forward. Some people even stood from their seats, too shocked to sit. But God, she continued, her eyes tearing, sent a kind stranger who was at the time near the place. He watched and saw everything and was kind enough to rescue me, dug me out, and saved my life. I stayed hidden until now. I wanted to see their true faces, the faces of those I once called friends. The court turned their eyes to Samantha and her friends. Their mouths trembled. Their bodies shook. In that moment, the truth was clear. Samantha and her friends had tried to kill her. The gavel struck. Bang. The judge's voice rang out. Samantha and her friends are guilty. They are sentenced to life in prison for murder and attempted murder. And they will pay $2 million for damages to Grace, George's sister. Finally, justice was served. Grace's heart, though still heavy with pain, found peace. His brother's name was cleared. Her tears were not in vain. And as the court emptied, one thing was sure. No lie can bury the truth forever.